Coming up on Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte, Bel Airs and Big Bears, a 33 Willys that was 28 years in the making.
There were nights that I wanted to find a can of gasoline and burn it.
And a guy who stands by his Pacer.
It's a neat car, I don't care what my buddies say. I mean,
Plus,
check your air cleaner. Make sure you don't have a mouse house in there.
we get your classic on the road, in under the hood. Hey, looky there.
punch bug.
Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte, starts right now. Hi everybody, I'm Jeff Phelps. Welcome to Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte. If you happen to be a classic car enthusiast and you live in a warm weather climate, congratulations, you're my idol. Your car show season lasts 12 months out of the year, 365 days. But if you're like me and you live in a cold weather climate, well, your old cars are sitting in a garage for what, 3, 4, 5 months out of each and every year. But this time of the year just gets me all excited. There's one sign that I'm getting very close to bringing my classic cars out of the garage, and it's when the new car shows start popping up around the Midwest. Of course, the big show is in Detroit, there's a great show in Chicago, and a terrific show in Cleveland, Ohio, right here at the IX Center. Along with all the new cars on display, in a back room, actually a back huge area here at the IX Center, a classic car show is put on each and every year, and I absolutely love it because it means I'm getting very close to bringing my classic cars out of the garage, putting them on the road, and jumping into another cruising season. Dick, I don't know what I like best. The paint job, the low ride, the convertible. All I know is I love your Camaro.
Well, thank you. It's a 68 Camaro RS Custom, and I put a lot of time and effort into building this car. It was a build about a year and 2 months from beginning to end.
Now this looks like the type of car that would sit in a trailer, but oh no, that's not the case.
That's correct. I drove this car last summer in the Hot Rod magazine Power Tour in June of last summer, and I drove it from Akron all the way down to Mobile, Alabama.
Wow.
And then back up to Akron. It was about a little almost 3,000 miles round trip. The car originally was a 1/8 of a mile, 1/4 of a mile race car, drag strip car. It had a roll cage in it. It had a big block motor in it and a huge rear end. It had a 521 Dana rear end in it, and the body was perfect.
Really? As a race car, the body was
It was
perfect?
a drag car, a drag race car, and the body only had like 20,000 miles in the body.
I'm sure, though, the restoration had to be extensive because it was a race car, and now you have it as a show car.
That's correct. And I had to cut the roll cage out of the car, and it was very unusual to have a convertible that was a drag strip car. I put in wood-grained, real veneer wood in the console, and all leather interior, electric windows, heated seats, bottom and back. And it's really a neat ride. And I've driven the car. Over 7,000 miles I put on this car.
So you had the Corvettes. Now that you have the Camaro, what do you think?
I like this the best of any car I built, except for a 56 Chevy I built.
Ron, I love classic pickup trucks. I love Ford pickup trucks. So naturally, I have to love your Ford pickup truck. This is really, really sharp. Tell us about it.
It's a 1936 Ford pickup truck. It's all steel. It's got a Ford motor in it. Most guys put Chevys, but I prefer the Ford.
You had to have a Ford motor in the Ford pickup.
I always tell the people it's got a Ford emblem that says Ford V8, and that's why it's Ford V8. It's running 400 horsepower in it. Basically, it's all my work, the paint job. All these parts were taken apart, hanging in my garage, and I painted it. It's 65 Corvette yellow, purple into the blue flames with the chartreuse outline, and I put a red Rosetta pearl in my clear coat, so it has a reddish tint to it.
If you just look at it from a distance, it looks yellow, but in the light, where light hits it, you can see that red pearl.
Yeah,
that's really sharp.
In the sun, when I was mixing my paint, I used a little McDonald's spoon, and I measured.
That's official measuring right there, Ron. That's really being
And
precise.
I put 10 in, not enough. Put 14 in, not enough. 16, I figured that's enough.
So 16
So-
little McDonald's spoons,
Spoons.
and all of a sudden you have your fabulous paint
Yeah,
job.
because I didn't want to overdo it. If it was overkill, too much red, it would,
It wouldn't blend.
yeah.
But it's just enough to make it jump.
Yeah.
Just a little bit in the light. When did you take
But-
this project on, Ron? When did it begin?
13 years ago.
And you found the truck?
At local, but it was rough. And redoing everything. The body, the engine, I put disc brakes on it, and it goes down the track at 1207, 114 miles an hour.
Wow. You added the flames recently. Why did you want to change it? Because it was all yellow and you didn't have the pearl in it, right?
Right. It was just plain yellow, and you got to change these cars every once in a while. So 3 years ago, I decided put flames on it and change the color. It's a fun project.
Yeah.
My wife knew where I was every night.
Yeah. You're not going to sneak around town in this thing, Ron.
No, no. I have a lot of police friends, and they even kidded me. They says, "We can see you coming down the road a mile away now, so just hang your hand out the window and grab the ticket as you go by."
Well, after so many years on the Cleveland Police Department, you had to get an old car, didn't you? Just for
yeah.
fun?
Yeah, I can remember back in the year I graduated was 1953.
Wow.
So that's the reason I ended up with this car.
So you thought, I have to get a 53 Chevy Bel Air.
53 Bel Air, and I got to get a two-door hardtop.
And why?
Because they're the cool cars.
Well, and you're a cool guy.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome very much. The thing of it is, this was a nice looking car when you bought it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was out of Portland, Oregon, and had very little rust on it. And the paint job was a nice looking paint job from a distance, but you got up close and it was kind of rough.
It was a 25 footer. From 25 feet away, it looked great.
Oh, fantastic. And so I decided I wanted to have it redone.
I like the rock on the bottom there.
Well, it's supposed to say Bel Air there.
Yeah, but it looks better saying rock since that's your last name.
Right. That was off of there, and there was just 2 holes there where the old Bel Air sign was. And I didn't want to, I couldn't find a good Bel Air sign, so I said, I'll just have them holes filled and put rock on it.
Well, it kind of personalizes things for you.
Right.
Doesn't it?
Right, it does.
Well, it's a good looking car. I have just one question. What's with you and the bear?
I took up archery after when I was on the police department to get away from the stress of being a policeman.
Yeah.
And I took up archery, and I shot a lot of archery. I was world champion in 1999,
Really?
2000, and 2001.
Archery to old cars and you got the bear.
And I got the bear, a 9-foot grizzly bear.
I like the car better.
You want power? Oh, we got power.
We have a 520 cubic inch nitromethane burning motor.
It's next on Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
World-class collector vehicles. That's what RK Motors Charlotte is all about. The finest in classic, muscle, and high-performance automobiles. The design and excellence of the 1930s and 40s. The chrome of the 1950s. The muscle of the 1960s and 70s, and much more. RK Motors is the one-stop shop to sell your car, add a new prize to your collection, or restore an old friend to past glory. Learn more about RK Motors Charlotte at rkmotorscharlotte.com.
Now back to Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Chris, you took a perfectly good 1974 yellow Volkswagen Super Beetle and turned it into something even more special. You've got Herbie the Love Bug sitting there.
Yep, sure do.
Why did you want Herbie the Love Bug?
Well, ever since I was a little kid and I saw the first Love Bug movie with Herbie in it, I fell in love with the car. And I always promised myself that if I ever found one for sale that I could afford, I would buy it and turn it into what you see here, a Herbie replica.
Well, there it sits. When did it begin?
Well, it began in 1989 in Columbus. I was living in Columbus, going to Ohio State at the time, and I saw this old beat-up yellow VW Beetle that you see.
I've heard the word beat up twice. It must have been bad.
It was for sale, $595. I had
Reasonable.
no idea if it even ran or not, but I figured $595, I can take a gamble and see what I can come up with.
And then where did you start?
I had the engine rebuilt, got it running, and then we went to the body. Took care of the body, and that was the most expensive part, getting the body work and the painted white.
How long has it been sitting here like Herbie?
It's been this way about maybe 12, 15 years now. So it took me a good 5, 6 years maybe to get it all done and to see what you see now.
And my guess is you get a lot of looks from everybody and real looks from little kids.
Oh yes, yes. That's the best part, is seeing people's reactions. And at places like here at the auto show, you'll see people punch each other and say punch bug all the time. You'll see little kids come up and they'll just stare with their mouths open. You get questions, is that the real Herbie?
Is it the real Herbie? Does
Well,
it do tricks?
We like to say he's one of Herbie's poor cousins, is what we like to say. So.
A couple of special things about this car that you mentioned to me.
Well, my grandfather, he always loved Volkswagens, and he would help me out at times when I had to do mechanical work on it. And I showed him there was a hole in the floor of the car where the battery sits, because the battery sits on the back seat, under the back seat. And so he said no problem. He put his hand on it and the battery just fell through to the ground. So he ran in the house, he grabbed one of my grandmother's broiler pans, took the bottom of it, bolted it to the bottom of the car under the back seat, put the battery in, and there you go. So my grandmother has since passed, but I always say she's still with me with my car.
Al, the sign says the world's wildest 1933 Willys. I can't wait to find out why.
Well, to start off with, we have a 520 cubic inch nitromethane burning motor.
All right, well, you can stop right there. That's enough for me.
It produces 3,000 horsepower.
Really?
The car only weighs 2,500 pounds.
So that's nasty.
But
That's real nasty.
it's also a street car. It's not a race car. It was built for the street and to show.
Well, show me what you like about this car.
I
Show
love
me some of the special things.
I love the gold leaf. This is 24 karat gold, hand laid, and it's just, it breaks the car just enough to make the color jump out.
And
Also,
it does.
most of the things that were built for this car are hand built. Very little was purchased at the factory. The clutch is a Hayes clutch from Mr. Gasket. The ignition system is a Mallory dual magneto system. And it's just a different type of a vehicle than most. Most cars put the Chevrolet engine in. We put the big Keith Black Chrysler in it. All the suspension is handmade.
Wow.
The interior is all muirhead leather from Scotland. All the aluminum is hand machined, handmade, carbon fiber inserts in the dashboard. The steering wheel is an original Boyd Coddington steering wheel that was handmade back in the 80s. The car is actually 28 years old, and it took 28 years to build it. The paint job is a candy apple red by PPG. The cost of the finished body work and the paint work was $80,000. Well worth it, as you can see, it's a jewel.
What inspired you, Al, to take on this project and create something like this?
I've been an old drag racer for many, many years. I got my first hot rod book when I was 12 years old. And I've always wanted to build a 33 Willys, and I had an opportunity to purchase the car in San Francisco. And it was a complete body, which is very rare for a steel car. And we just got started, and little by little it got better and better and better.
And you actually did this yourself.
My brother, myself, and of course there's always friends that help you.
Right. What do you think over all that time, knowing the vision you had for what you wanted, and yet it was a work in progress for almost 3 decades.
There were nights that I wanted to find a can of gasoline and burn it.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
If you ever work on a project and you work on it for weeks and weeks on end and see nothing happening,
Yeah.
it gets very distressing. So finally, when it started to come together, it was all worth it. And the day that we finished it, it was like a reprieve from hell.
And now it's been 2 or 3 years
It's
of
been 3 years.
great fun.
Yeah, and we do have fun.
It's that time. Let's get our classics out of the garage.
7 miles with a very healthy alternator should charge a battery full.
Under the Hood is next on Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
RK Motors Charlotte wants your classic car. Let our consignment professionals take the aggravation out of the selling process for you. With an established international customer base, the RK Motors Charlotte consignment program has a 90% sell-through rate. Our top-notch marketing efforts have led to an average sale time of 87 days. We do the work, we do the marketing, we sell your classic for you at maximum value. Visit our website at rkmotorscharlotte.com. Under the Hood is presented by RK Motors Charlotte, specializing in the sale, build, and restoration of world-class collector vehicles.
When we last saw our buddy Mike Velick, the restoration manager here at RK Motors, we had just put our classic away for the winter time. Mike, I am thrilled. The snow is gone. It's time to get this thing out, get it on the road. How about some tips to get us started for the season?
Absolutely. What I would say, first off, we put the car away. What was our biggest concern? One of them was the little rodent.
Our little pals?
Our little pals. They like to make a mess everywhere. They like to grab anything they can and make homes out of it. One very normal spot for them to go is the air cleaner. So one of my recommendations always is check your air cleaner. Make sure you don't have a mouse house in there before you go start your classic and suck it all into your carburetor. That would not be good. So it's just one of those things where you want to check. And as you can see here, we look all clean. No evidence, no signs where they got in. Perfect. This was well taken care of and good to go. Make sure you're coolant. Now, of course, you don't see any marks underneath, you don't see any puddles, but that doesn't mean it didn't leak internally, which if it did, you could have a bigger problem. But
let's think optimistically.
Yes, let's double check. We know that we topped it off at the end of the season. We're still topped off. That means we didn't lose anything anywhere.
Good.
Okay. If you didn't take my tip on putting a battery tender.
And you certainly should have.
Yeah, you should have. But if you did not put a battery tender on your battery and it's dead, chances are over the winter it went dead. Sometimes you get lucky and it isn't. Your best bet to charge the battery is if you have your charger, the absolute lowest amperage you can for a 12 volt is the best way to charge a battery. You want to do a nice slow charge, not a fast charge. But if you're that anxious and you want to get out there and you want to run your car, you can't wait anymore, which I understand. Winter's been long, you want to get that thing out and you want to do a jump start. You can go to a booster pack, which is pretty much an extra battery.
Right.
Hook that up, she'll fire right up, good to go. The other option is if you did jump it and you're in an automatic and you just want to drive it, 7 miles with a very healthy alternator should charge a battery fully.
No kidding. So, 7 miles is all it really takes.
7 miles, about all she takes. You might also want to check your brake fluid. Make sure that, you didn't have a wheel cylinder go bad over the winter. You'll see a wet spot on the backside of your wheel. So we check it, we're good. Fluid looks nice. She's all good to go. Check your fluids just in case, because, the cars leak, and again, there should be telltale signs underneath if it was a problem, but just check your oil, because that would be very bad to start her up and have some catastrophic failure because you forgot to check something as simple as that.
Certainly would ruin the season, wouldn't it, Mike?
Absolutely, especially in the beginning of the season. We put these in to keep the varmints out of your exhaust.
Here's the critical part.
Pull them out. Usually there's enough compression in a lot of these motors to push them out anyways, but just get them out. This is a big one. make sure your tire pressure is correct. You know, the car sits all winter, you know, it may lose a little bit of air pressure, you know, with temperature changes. You just want to make sure that all your temperature, your air pressures are right. We like to use the microfiber towels. One thing with the microfibers, they like to put this plasticky little tag on. Make sure you rip them off because this will scratch.
Bad.
This won't.
All right, let's get
So
to work,
let's
shall
just give
we?
our
All right,
car a little bit of love.
rubber down. And pretty soon we're on the road having fun.
Absolutely.
Under the Hood is presented by RK Motors Charlotte, specializing in the sale, build, and restoration of world-class collector vehicles. Visit our website at rkmotorscharlotte.com. Automotive passion runs deep at RK Motors Restoration. Our master body, paint, and mechanical technicians have decades of award-winning experience restoring some of the world's finest collector cars. Flawless paint and bodywork, highly accurate interiors, engines that run better than new. Each restoration is completely documented and finished to award-winning Concours quality specifications. From project car to automotive perfection, visit rkmotorscharlotte.com to make it happen.
Back to the Cleveland Auto Show on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Scott, you take a look around here, fabulous classic cars, you have some pristine automobiles, some real collector items, and then we have an AMC Pacer. It's in great shape. It looks nice for a Pacer, but Scott, you're a big, rough guy. You own an AMC Pacer. What type of grief are you taking from your buddies about owning a Pacer?
It's a neat car, I don't care what my buddies say. I mean, it just always was a neat, different kind of car. And, you know, I don't want something like everybody else had. I want something unique, something that would stand out a little bit. And I kind of found my calling with these AMCs.
Oh, it does. It stands out.
I actually had 4 at one time.
Did you really?
4.
All Pacers?
All Pacers. It happens.
And how many
Sickness.
now?
I'm down to the last one.
Okay, all right, but this was the first.
This was the first. This was the first.
I remember the Pacer, you know, when it came out new, and at the time everybody thought, that's an interesting car, and the glass around the back, you know, there's so much glass in the back. Interesting's one way of putting it, ugly might be another, Scott. Do you see the beauty in it? Is it beauty in the eye of the beholder? What is the deal?
Do I think the car is beautiful? No.
You're speechless, though.
It's not quite a beautiful, I mean, it's not a beautiful car.
Right.
However, it's a unique car.
Yes.
You know, and that's kind of what sold me on the Pacer. I mean, I like the idea that it stands out in the crowd, you know.
And it does. And it's why we're talking to you, because you have your GTO now.
I have my GTO. I always wanted a GTO.
And you finally have it, but we don't want to talk to you about your GTO.
The GTO is no comparison to the Pacer. You drive down the street in the GTO, as nice as it is,
Nobody's looking
nobody's even looking at you. You drive out in the Pacer, everybody's looking at the Pacer. And everybody's a pro at a Pacer. You know, everybody knows what it is, what year it came out, how it flopped, and how nobody wanted them, and how so-and-so had one and it rusted out, or mechanically it was no good, or everything they remember about the Pacer, they still remember.
Yeah.
You know.
You're not going to forget the Pacer, Scott.
You're never going to forget the Pacer.
What a great event this always is. Take the brand new technology and the brand new cars, then come over and take a look at the classic lines of the classic automobiles. It gets me all excited about the cruising season that's ahead. That'll do it for this edition of Cruisin', presented by RK Motors Charlotte. We'll see you next time, everybody. I'm Jeff Phelps.